Well, good afternoon. Welcome to another in the Evensong concert series. We're happy that you could come this afternoon and enjoy this music from different parts of the world. And we're just enjoying the beautiful, wonderful talents that God has given these people. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Father in heaven, we're grateful for your presence with us today, for the musicians, for the fruit of their labor, and the exciting sounds of music from different parts of the world. We pray that you will bless us, that you will guide us, and as this is the last of our concert series for this year, may you continue to bless us with many more in the coming year. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. And now we want to welcome Amit Peled and the Mount Vernon Virtuosi.
Good afternoon. Great to be back here and to see so many people. Thanks for coming. Happy New Year. It's wonderful to be back. We were talking just when we finished the sound checkup we did before, and few people in the orchestra mentioned to me that it feels like coming back home, even for them, not just for me. So that's a really nice feeling. We love this place. We love the atmosphere. We love the acoustics. And we want to take you in this festive festive periods of the year through a musical journey of musical dances. And this journey will start in Russia and will end up in a very different place. So we are going to go basically around the world with those dances, and I will try to explain to you where we are and what we are trying to achieve. As we did the first time, how many of you were here in September? Oh, so you must liked it. You came back. Oh. Thank you. So I just want to remind you that in our orchestra, in our musical ensemble, we always start by playing and singing a Bach chorale. And the reason for that is, first of all, a selfish reason for us to get accustomed to the key of the piece that we're about to play, the character of the key that we're about to play, and to find the connection, the physical and emotional connection between our instrument and our voices. So we will start by singing and playing a Bach chorale in G major, and after that we will just dive into the first piece, which is a waltz by Tchaikovsky. This waltz was premiered in 1881, and this is the first piece in the program. It's a very famous waltz. It was used in some movies and in ballets and in many places, even on radio programs, on the BBC, on TV. It was one of the pieces that started the evening shows. So this is a very well-known piece, and we just love it, and we thought this would be a great musical dance to start this journey. So here's a Bach chorale, and then the Tchaikovsky waltz. Thank you. Aren't they amazing? They're really wonderful musicians. They're all young, all freshly out of school. And to remind the people who came in September and for the new people who came today, this orchestra is a dream of mine that I've been dreaming for a long time. For the past 20 years, I've been playing all over the world, mainly me and my cello alone, accompanied by orchestras or pianists and so on. But I had the urge to find a stage for my students to be able to take what we did in school into the real world before they get a job. That gap year, I call it, the year between school, between university and quote-unquote real life, is a very dangerous year, or two sometimes. It's a period where musicians have to all of a sudden make their ends meet. They have to make a living. So they start playing in weddings, in funerals, in Christmas gigs, and so on. And not that anything wrong with it, but they stop practicing and stop looking for that urge to become perfect, to become really great in what they do. And this orchestra, the first and most important mission of it, is to give those brilliant musicians a stage to stay musicians, to really make music and to get paid for it, so they don't have to do the other things. The other obligation, I would say, for this orchestra is to share music with the public for free. We really believe that classical music should go to what it used to be. And it used to be free. There used to be always few wealthier people in the world that would commission pieces, would force Beethoven to write a piece, would force Mozart to write. They would pay them. And they would pay for the hall. And people would come and listen. And we would like to do that again. We don't think that classical music should be based on ticket sales, because there's no way it will work. So we became a non-profit organization where we have been overwhelmed by the support of the public. Wherever we play for free, and whatever we get goes to these musicians so they don't have to gig around and they can really make music. Back to our program, to our journey. We were in Russia in 1880. At that time, Russia, or Russian people, you know, they would speak French, they would want to look, dress, talk, and become European. In fact, Tchaikovsky also spent time in Paris, spent time in Italy, wrote a piece, Souvenir de Florence. They wanted to look and to sound like mainstream Europe. However, the next piece that we're going to play, we jump to 1915. This is in the midst of the First World War. At this point, nobody wants to look or sound like anybody else but themselves. Bartok becomes very nationalistic about who he is. He was Hungarian. And he decides to, instead of write pieces that sounds like Brahms, sounds like Schumann, sounds like Mozart, he wants to write pieces that sounds like Hungarian or Romanian, or where is he from? So he's going to Transylvania, which is now sort of a mix of Hungary and Romania. At that time, most of the villages he visited are considered Hungarian these days. In fact, on a personal note, my grandfather came from that area, from Cluj, and he goes to those villages and he records and writes down folk melodies. And he takes those melodies with a lot of pride, and he says, I was trained in the classical way, but I'm going to use my training to write pieces that fits to my nation. And he writes this group of melodies. Each one is very short. Each one represents a different village. So we're going to walk between the villages now, almost without a break. Each melody or each gypsy group is going to disturb us from what we just heard before. Here are the Bartok dances for you. Thank you very much. For the next piece, last time when I played here, I always love the receptions afterwards because it's a good chance for us to talk to you and to eat good food. And quite a few people told me, you know, Amit, I've been coming here for so many years to hear you play, and I was sure you're going to play today. I love your conducting, but why didn't you play the cello? So I promised them that this time I will play one piece. So I'm going now out to bring my cello, to change hats and to become a cellist. And just bear with the orchestra for a second and I'll be back.
Hello, everyone. Oh. Hi. It's a rare opportunity for a musician to speak with the microphone. How are you doing? It's a pleasure for us to be here again. As Amit said earlier, it's really feels like home, and we're so glad that you came back and many new faces that we see today. I wanted to say on behalf of the whole orchestra, how happy we are to work with Amit, to work with Maestro, because really not just each concert that we play, but every single rehearsal, it's a celebration of music. So we absolutely in power of music, and we're really enjoying it big time. And the fact that it's free for the community, it's wonderful that we absolutely love it, and I think we bring in the important message. And again, as our maestro said, it's a dream. It's his dream, and we share his dream. And of course, we rely on your support because it's always some donations. So thank you so much again. And we would like to play a little bit while Amit is getting his cello.
Wow, that was beautiful to listen from outside. The next piece are a group of 3 musical dances from my origin, from my country, related to Israel. It was written by Joachim Stuchevsky, who was a Jewish cellist and composer who was born in Latvia and went to Switzerland to study cello and became a very prominent cellist in the end of the 19th century, beginning of 20th century in Europe. He was one of the go-to guys to play cello for lessons. He wrote many exercises for cello. But then in his older age, Second World War came, and he was forced to leave his job, his post as a professor, And he had two options. He had an option to go to America or to immigrate to what was then, in the early 40s, Palestine. It was not even Israel, the state of Israel. He decided to go to Palestine. And you have to imagine this very well-respected European man with a suit and his cello arriving in Tel Aviv, which was back then just desert. It was really desert. Camels and a few houses, and that's where he arrived. Now, many people like him from Germany or from that area really gave up and thought, you know, we are Germans, we are Europeans, and this happened, and now we cannot go on. He decided to change. He decided to integrate into the new country as a cellist and as a composer, to write music that has elements of Hasidic music, which is where he was born, with harmony of Western Europe, and then a flair of Mediterranean music. Not only that, he became a very well-known teacher in Israel. And he was a teacher of my teacher when he was a child in Israel. This piece is very close to me. On my first CD, which is called The Jewish Soul, I really wanted to record it for cello and piano, and I love it so much that I asked a friend of mine to arrange it for cello and string orchestra. The first song is a Basaramic song. It's a Bulgarian, to sort of homage to the Bulgarian Jewish community, and then a Latvian song to where he came from. And the last one is Hasidic music. So we would like to end our journey with Norway, Scandinavia. Have you ever been there? It's really beautiful, and if you haven't, you have to go in order to understand how it sounds when you stand on a hill in Norway and you listen to the wind and you look at the sunset or the sunrise. I think personally that the most visual music I know is by Grieg. And Grieg had a very interesting upbringing. He was a prodigy pianist when he was young. And then, of course, he wrote this very famous piano concerto that even Liszt, who was at that time the greatest pianist, he was so shocked by it. He asked to see him, and they met, and Liszt was very impressed. He was reading the concerto in front of Grieg. And then Grieg went back home, and now in 1884, it was 200 years to the birth of Holberg, who was a poet, a Norwegian poet. And he was asked to write a piece, not like Tchaikovsky in Russia, trying to sound like Mozart or try to sound European. He decided, I will give a homage to our great poet, a great Norwegian poet, by writing something that will sound different. And if you think of Grieg, what really makes his sound so special and what made him famous is this piece that you're about to hear. And it's a piece, again, that I recommend if you ever go to Norway, is to stand outside, maybe to put headphones with this piece, and to listen to what you see. Thank you. Thank you very much. We did prepare a little encore for you. But before that, I just want you to see and to understand how international we are here from all over the world. And I think this is so beautiful about this country. I became American 5 years ago, and I love the fact that you can come from wherever and become American, become proud about it, keep your traditions, but become new. And here on stage, there are people literally from all over the world, so I'm just going to hand the microphone. We start with Nikita. Just tell us, clear voice, please, where you're from.
Russia.
Russia.
Hi, I'm Orest. I'm from Ukraine.
Okay, that's different. That's different.
Hello, Azer. I'm from Russia and Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan. So we have a Russian mafia here, but it's going to change right now.
Amos Lee, I'm from America.
From America.
Okay.
I'm Brandon. I'm from the US. I'm from Rhode Island originally.
I'm Zero. I'm from Taiwan.
I'm Ismael. I'm from Cuba.
I'm Mafalda. I'm from Portugal.
I'm Lan Zhang from China.
I'm Eric. I'm from Florida.
I'm Ting An from Taiwan.
I'm Mei from China.
I'm Anastasia from Russia.
I'm Hyun. I'm from Korea.
Okay, stand up. So, we save a very special dance for our encore. This piece was written by Zoltan Tsintsanze. Anybody know this composer? Oh, wow. She's Nikita's wife, so. Tsintsanze was a Georgian composer. He was a cellist, and he actually wrote this movement for a friend of his, a cellist, Daniel Shafran, was Russian. And later on, because it became so successful, he transposed it for a string orchestra. And this is what you're going to hear now. This is a wedding dance. And as you can imagine, in Eastern Europe, in all over the world, we try to have a band or music in a wedding. I think we don't like silence wedding, maybe. But in Georgia, there are no silence weddings. There's always music. And there's a band. And you have to imagine that this band doesn't want to be there. They do it because they want the money. They sit there, they get assigned to play, and they play. And then comes the food, usually. And during the food, it's quiet. Everybody's eating, and they think, okay, now we can just rest. We're almost done. But then comes a sign after the food for more music. And they don't really want to play, but they have to. So they get the sign, and their cellist, you know, the older guy, sit there and somehow starts to play very slowly, very casually, some kind of rhythm. And then the violists, they come in just casually, just whatever, okay. But then what's happening is not because of the guest, but because of the music. They get intoxicated because deep inside, doesn't matter if it's a gig, if it's a wedding, if you want to be there or not, when you make music, you wake up your soul and you start really getting intoxicated and involved in it. And that's what you will hear, starting with the cello, then the viola comes in, and by the time we will end it, which takes really just 2 minutes, it will be so exciting. So thank you so much for coming, and our last concert in the season here will be in May, and we hope that all of you will come. So when I ask who came in December, will be a lot of people, and bring your friends, and I'm assuming there is a reception, so we will see you out there, and we would love to talk to all of you. Thank you for coming.
We thank you for coming and being with us. Thank you very much. And we usually collect an offering at the door to continue the series that we have. Tonight we're giving a little break to the folks who do our reception, so there will be no reception. We will see you back here on February 23rd when we will have as the guests the Columbia Collegiate Chorale from Washington Adventist University, and you're welcome to come at that time. Thank you for being here, and good night.